finally here, the biggest legend from War of Tanks BC. I've been hyped ever since they announced the test stage for this tank, and I met it a couple of times in battle, but boy oh boy was I let down when I saw the way this tank looks and the way you can obtain it. I don't know about you guys, but personally, I find the camo that this tank got shipped with absolutely hideous. I have no clue why they decided to go with this low quality permanent camo for it, but nonetheless, my biggest gripe with it is the name. Why is it called WAFFEN F1? No clue. Even the wargaming employees probably wouldn't be able to tell you. And my second biggest gripe with it is the way you can obtain this tank. It is in loot boxes, no surprise there, but the loot boxes have charms, so either you'll be a complete degenerate and gamble your way to it, which will probably cost you a couple of hundreds of euros, dollars, whatever the currency is, or you get lucky, or the third option, you won't get it. Basically, you have no chance of getting it. And to every one of you, I would highly suggest not gambling for it because it's not worth it, unless, as I said, you're a complete degenerate and you don't care about your money. So, if you somehow manage to get this tank, you might be asking yourself, is it any good? How do I play it? What should I do with it? Let's look at the armor first. The armor is actually interesting because if we have a look, this is in Blitzed Kit. If you don't know the site, it's very good, it's very helpful. It can show you armors, it can show you loadouts. You can basically do anything with your tank that you want. Our shooter is Super Conqueror. I chose this tank because it has above average HE pen. The HE pen is 85 millimeters. But if you have a look, the superstructure turret is actually quite strong. If you have a look, there is 122 millimeters on the turret. There is 97. Here we have 97 as well, and this is how much? 103. So basically, with low caliber guns, you'll only be able to pen this part above the gun, like this little triangle, and the flat parts. Apart from that, it has actually good HE protection, which is really useful because it has no spore liner. But once you get to the side of it, once you get to the side of the turret, it's basically an easy pen for anything. This is, 37 millimeters. Yeah, once you get the side, it doesn't matter. But from the front, it's actually very well armored against the HE shells. The hull, as you can see as well, is from an E100. So if we take AP from the Super Conk, you can see that the front plate is actually very strong. The lower plate is garbage. 89 millimeters, 152 over this angle, and the superstructure is basically, or the turret, let's call it a turret because it is a turret, is basically an easy pen for everything. One thing that is a really big downside for this tank is that you can only rotate the turret. Let's do it like this. To a certain extent, you can rotate it fully. If I do it like this, yeah, perfectly. This is the maximum angle that you can rotate it to. And you have 8 degrees of wind depression, which is quite nice. So we had a look at the armor model, but now let's have a look at modules and the way you can equip this tank, because you have actually two choices when it comes to modules. You have two guns. One is a lower alpha gun with 5 shells. The alpha is 340 and you have 1.82 seconds between your shells. And the second gun is 3 shell 570 alpha gun, which has 3.5 seconds in between those shells. In my humble opinion, and from the testing that I've done and the people that I spoke to, the 3-shot gun is generally better, because if you're playing the 5-shot gun, it kind of feels like a worse FV 4005. And I'm going to be making a lot of comparisons to this tank, because it's basically the closest thing that you can get to a Waffen dragger. So, let me show you the way that I equipped it, and there are also two options. You can either run ventilation, which is really nice, with supercharger and refined gun. Then you pick this thing, defense system on the right. You pick improved assembly because you don't have armor, you don't need enhanced armor. Toolbox, camo net because it has horrendous camo. Improved control, I think it's called, because it's better ever since the update. And this thing, consumable, basically so the consumables renew faster. There's a second way that you can play it, and that I've tested. You can go with calibrated shells. Calibrated shells are decent, although you don't need them. The pen is decent. You have 270 on AP, you have 350 on heat, which, yeah, in my opinion, you don't need Kali, but if you want to run Kali, you need to run it with enhanced gun link drive, because the gun handling that you're going to sacrifice by dropping vents is really noticeable, and you generally cannot play it with supercharger because you won't hit most of your shells unless you're using one of the OP consumables that I'm going to show you in a moment. But this is my preferred way of playing it. And as well, drop small food for protective kit. I think protective kit is really good because this tank is very prone to getting sudden fire through the front somehow. Moving on, you have 2 OP consumables. You have reticle calibration and you have a shell reload boost, which boosts the interclip to 2.5 seconds, which is really good. Like 570 alpha with 2.5 second interclip, that makes you do 1700 damage in 5 seconds is absolutely mental. And as well, you won't miss because you have reticle calibration. Isn't that wonderful? Thank you, Wargaming. Yeah, that's going to be enough for the numbers. I think you can read them out yourselves. I'm going to try and tell you how you should play it, how I think it's the best way of playing it, and if it has any use in Clan Wars. Generally speaking, when you're playing this tank in random games, you want to be looking for early game cross shots. Try to figure out where the enemy heavy tanks will be going and try and preempt there. From my experience, this tank is at its best when you pair it up with a light tank in your platoon, which spots these crosses. For example, let's take Vineyards. Both sides, the enemy team heavy tanks choose to go into the city. You can easily get a couple of cross shots into there and then move accordingly. And that's basically the main premise of this tank. You drive somewhere, you do the clip, you try to not get yourself in harm's way and find yourself a good place to reload, because you will be reloading for 28 seconds. I forgot to mention that fact, but yes, the reload is 28 seconds. I think in general, this tank is very situational and hard to master because you have to be really precise with your movement, and you need to have a good game prediction and like good game sense to know where tanks will be going and where you can pre-aim and get your shells into. In this map rotation that we have this season, there are a lot of small maps which are not really helpful for this tank, namely like False Creek, Port Bay, Himmelsdorf even. Himmelsdorf isn't the greatest map for this tank. But starting from next year, we'll get back Canal, which I think is a great map for this tank because you have a lot of cross shots opportunities from the get-go, and you can always just get a safe spot to reload. The games are going to be generally long on Canal. So yeah, that's my biggest advice that I can give you if you got this tank to play it. And let's have a look to Clan Wars. As I said, I think 95% this tank won't be usable in Clan Wars because it's a big risk to take if you want to play it in your composition. There is one map that has been generally very nice for TDs, and that's Canal. We're gonna definitely get Canal for the next tournament season, so we might see we might see teams and captains experimenting with that. And yeah, that's about it. This tank doesn't really offer much apart from the clip. The clip is nice, the OP consumables are there, but as I said, the games need to be really long for this tank to work because of the reload, and you need to kind of make your strategy around the tank, which I don't think is what you want in this meta that's been really flexible with the tank picks, namely 215Bs, AMX MLEs, and as well you have to take into account that reactive armor still exists. Reactive armor will reduce the clip damage to, I don't know, like 1,400, 300, and at that point you would just do far better at using a different tank than the Waffle. So yeah, that's gonna be the end of this video. I would like to personally thank you all so much for the love that I've been receiving on the latest video, or the video before that, the video where we opened the Waffen Traeger from cases. If you are any one of those guys who came after this video, thank you for sticking around. I'm gonna be making a lot of more reviews, looks at underrated tanks. I have some videos prepared. I got myself a new mic for Christmas. Yeah, but thank you all very much. And I hope your next year is going to be even better than this one. Thank you all, and bye bye. See ya.